What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be another YGOpro duel video, and this time I'm playing with the Cyber Dragon Kaiju deck again. This was a deck that was sent in by a subscriber for a Deck Doctor little series, and that is what it's going to be used for. This is going to be the probably last matchup I play with this deck before I make a Deck Doctor video on it with my changes and stuff like that, as to what I think the deck should be playing and what ratios should change and things like that. But other than that, if you want to send in your own deck list for a potential Deck Doctor, there is a link to an email address in the description where you can send a image file, a YDK file, or preferably both to the email address so that I can preview it before I have to download it and move it into the folder and stuff like that. It just makes it easier for me, and it makes it more likely for me to accept it if it's two files, if it's an image file as well as a YDK file for the direct download. It's easier on me. Like, you don't have to, but it's easier. It increases your potential success rate, so if that's something you're interested in doing, then definitely send those there. But otherwise, this is going to be a matchup against the Zoodiac Metalfoes deck that I played against previously, with the Dark Lord Monarch deck first, I think. But I don't think this deck is going to have a fairly good matchup against that deck at all. That deck is very good at putting out multiple defensive lines that are not very heavily impacted by anything other than Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. It's not nearly as clear-cut as the ABC matchup, where it was literally like your opponent's being threatened by Chimera Attack or Kaijus, and that's a very big, like, paradox. In this situation, it's literally just put out multiple defensive lines, and I have to have a board wipe to answer all of them. And that's kind of the problem that I think this deck is going to face. But anyway, let's not take too much time and discuss this any further at length. Let us just jump straight into the first game, shall we? Alright, so going into the first game, I'm playing against Zoodiac Metalfoes, as I should have already said in the deck list portion of this video, and I'm going second all of these games because I believe this deck is not very good at going first in its current build and form. I believe there's probably a way to build this deck to where it's as good to go first as it is to go second, but those are probably things that just need to be changed and stuff like that. But anyway, he gets to start because I let him start. I blinded second again after winning Rock, Paper, Scissors, and he's able to start with a Bambuku into Kieran, penduluming two Bambukus into his Invoker, doing his Zoodiac plays, and then ultimately just setting up with a Drancia and having a huge board with a lot of relevant advantage on it. You know, just very, very good, solid things. Just being able to do these things very quickly turn one, and not have them be threatened by things like Chimera Attack, where the ABC matchup you definitely were threatened by that, is a big asset. But Twin Twister comes down on a Dimension Barrier, which gets called on fusions, so I can't do fusions, and he called fusion because I discarded Cyber Dragon Dre off of the Twin Twister, so my repair plant would be live. And I make a Nova, and then he just Drancias the Nova, and because I'm under Dimension Barrier, I can't summon the Barbaroid from my extra deck because it's a fusion monster, and I can't special summon those. So he just continues his line of play, being very, very far ahead of me. I literally have an instant fusion, which is not a one-card play for anything in this deck, and thus this game is essentially just over. He's able to go Metalfoes Fusion with combination to make Orihulk. Orihulk brings back the Mithrilium because it's a higher level off combination. And then the Mithrilium that was used to fuse brings out the Volflame from the extra deck. So it's just a big, like, tempo, like, push. And then being able to attack with Viper and then use Viper to equip himself to Drancia and attack with it. It's just a little bit of extra damage to ensure the OTK goes through. He just absolutely trashes me because of Dimension Barrier, and this deck is just so inherently better than my own. And I don't really have an advantage with this deck. That's the thing. This deck has a huge advantage against ABC going second because you have that paradox you have to deal with of, do you let Buster stay on the board to get Kaiju'd, or do you tag it out in standby phase to maintain your level 4 resources, to maintain your rank 4 resources and make sure you can ensure future Buster Dragons, or in that case, you're just going to be threatened by a Chimera Tech that comes out at 4k with all your monsters being wiped. Sure, you reset your resource pool and you get all your effect, but your opponent is now very, very close to killing you because they have one monster on the board that can literally slice your life total in half. And that's absolutely not an attractive thing at all. But so this game is a bit weird. This game my Infinity gets sucked up by an Alkahest because I didn't expect there to be two full Metalfoes fusions down. Either that or I saw two of them and I thought I was playing through them or around them. I can't remember. All the games have started to blur together with me at this point because all of them look about the same in terms of me just not really being able to do anything against this deck because my Cyber Dragon deck doesn't have an inherent advantage because he puts out multiple defensive lines in the form of Alkahest and Drancia turn one effectively, and because of that, like, the thing is that Alkahest is a card that'll pop out before it's going to suck up your monster. It's very like effective to play the deck in that way. You're just going to summon Alkahest before you suck up the monster, and you're not just going to put it on the board to let it be Kaiju or anything like that. So really the only effective way of dealing with it is with a board wipe, like Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, because you have to deal with Drancia and the Alkahest, or at least the potential Alkahest play, and that's just a huge, huge problem for this deck specifically to try and deal with, especially when trying to go second. But going into the third game, he opens a Terratop play into the Zoodiac engine, you know, strong nonsense, being able to just do all this stuff. He doesn't have that like good of a hand for Metalfoes monsters at least, but he is able to like search a scale off of Bullhorn and then get a draw off Emerald, which gives him another scale, which is definitely stuff he can use. He doesn't actually use it to scale, he actually fuses with it first just so, you know, he gets things engraved, and he's able to do stuff that that really establishes his advantage. So I start my turn with a Twin Twister and hit both the full Metalfoes fusions that I know are there. Or actually, no, that's not even this game. I hit a full Metalfoes fusion and a counter that I didn't know were set. I am absolutely skipping ahead because, like I said, all of these games kind of blend together in terms of, like, the same thing happens multiple times. Except for this one. This one was really interesting because he waits for you to make Cyber Dragon Nova, and then he pops it with Drancia, and I guess, like, he just forgot the fact that I could summon Barbaroid off of it. I guess he just didn't respect it. But so I just get the free Barbaroid. And because he popped the Nova, there's now 2 Cyber Dragons in my grave where I can overload fusion into Rampage Dragon, pop his scale and his set that I know what they are, and now I know that he just has 1 scale in hand, and I'm able to attack literally 5 times with the 2 attacks off Barbaroid and the 3 attacks off Rampage Dragon. So it just puts me very much back in this game. That minor misplay of popping my Nova is just something that just really just benefited me so well. In fact, I think it's the only reason that I won this game, or any games for that matter, is whether or not like my opponent misplayed or not. Like, it was definitely not the case of my deck was better than his or functioned better than his. He has got a very, very clear-cut and heavy advantage because of the fact that he's playing Zoodiac Beasts as well as Metalfoes, a very, very good Pendulum deck that has access to some really good cards, as well as the fact that he has the Zoodiac engine. And the reason I'm showing this deck, in case you're wondering, is because of the reason that, like, this is something that can be potentially meta-defining next set. There's no major events between now and then, so I figured it was time to go ahead and start introducing Zoodiac things onto the channel and stuff like that. But this game is interesting as well because he normally summons Mabuku and he specials Takatomborg out of hand because Mabuku is a win, and then starts his Zoodiac play before having the Pendulum summon, and starts fueling his hand up with certain pieces and things like that, and ends up scaling up with Gold Driver and Mabuku, and then penduluming out too, and able to make a Mithrilium with a set full Metalfoes fusion, which he can use to make Alkahest. So again, multiple defensive lines. Something that I really have a hard time dealing with this deck, multiple defensive lines. But I try to core into Machine Duplication for a good play there. Drancia ends up popping the things. I go into a Nova play because I'm not really expecting a Alkahest play because I didn't see the full Metalfoes fusion get banished off a card effect. At least I don't remember seeing it. I believe it was in his hand, if I remember correctly. And so then I just get Alkahest suck up my Nova Dragon, and that's just a problem. Like, that's the thing. My Cyber Dragon just attacks over something I've already normal summoned for turn, and my hand isn't playable from this point forward. Like, and now he's got easily like 6 more cards than me, and he's capable of just going further and just keeping up the play string moving, just capable of just insanely like generating his board further and just doing nothing but continually playing the game. That is something that is a problem for me. But he does a really nice sequencing of plays, like bouncing things with Mithrilium to get more searches and to trigger more things, and just all of these different things that are going on here. Now he draws the Kieran here, and he tributes the Kieran over the Mithrilium, so the Mithrilium will summon the Volflame from his extra deck after he's used it. And so I was like, that's neat, that's cool. I can't really argue against that one. It was really cool. It was a really cool play. But I draw the wrong Kaiju, by the way. In case you're wondering why I don't contact here into Chimera Tech, it's because that Kaiju is a Thunder. That Kaiju's not the big machine one, that's the big Thunder one that's in this deck list. And I'm just, like, gonna lose to it, absolutely. So yeah, I just Kaiju his Kieran and I normal summon Core, and I can't really do anything here. I can't do anything in the game state. So there's another game that I just get blown out by because there's literally nothing I can do. It's not even something that, like, I'm complaining about. It's just literally, like, this deck is just not very well equipped to going second in this matchup. It's very good against ABC, as I think the last video proved, where I think I won all but one of the games. But in this situation, I literally am winning 1 out of 5 games because this deck is so much better at going first and setting up a board that is so, like, good at making all of my hand irrelevant because I can't answer anything. The Twin Twisters are essentially irrelevant because he's just going to chain his cards and make all of his face downs into trap monsters on the point that I Twin Twister him. And then, like, he has double defensive lines in the form of Drancia and the full Metalfoes Alkahest that he can actually just pump out, like, very effectively. Like, he's just using this turn right here to set up a lot of different play strings and cycle through all of his resources to the best of his ability, and he's set up an Alkahest play. I know there's a full Metalfoes fusion now, and so I activate Twin Twister on the two full Metalfoes fusions that I know are there because I saw them both get set, and he just chains one, summoning the Alkahest, no biggie. I Kaiju over his Drancia, and then I try to normal summon Dre and just attack, because, I mean, I'm not going to be able to Chimera attack, or if I do, it's going to get sucked up by Alkahest, and so the Dre gets sucked up by Alkahest, and so not really much I can do. Nothing I can really do about it, but on his next turn, he gets to power through more plays, you know, doing the Orihawk play with combination to bring back Mithrilium. It's a very good sequencing of plays. Can't really complain about it. Now, he has game literally at any point during this turn, but he's just cycling out resources, doing things, trying to make his game state as solid as possible, and trying to see as many resources as possible, just to show how much of a higher ceiling his deck has than mine. Which, I mean, is definitely not a debatable fact. His deck has a much higher ceiling than mine, but, I mean, he still just has game even with only 3 monsters because of Kaiju, the Orihawk, and the Mithrilium, and there's not really much I can do about it. Like I said, this deck just has such a hard time going second in this matchup that it's really, really difficult to deal with, and that's something that really, really needs to be addressed, which is definitely something I hope to be able to address in the deck doctor that I do on this video. But anyway, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Let me know what you think and all that sort of nonsense. If you have a deck list that you'd like to submit for your own deck doctor segment, potentially, then send it to the email address that is in the description, as I said earlier in the video. But other than that, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps support the channel a ton. If you want to get notifications of when I put subscription, like if you want notifications of when I put videos up, if you're a subscriber and you're not seeing them as effectively as you would, there's a little bell you can click next to my subscribe button that will turn on notifications for my channel. That helps out a lot if that's something you want to potentially do. And if you're a new person here, maybe consider subscribing if you liked what you saw. And let me know if you liked what you saw. But other than that, as I've already said, thanks for watching. Thank you for your time as usual. Let me know what you think again, as I always say multiple times in the comments down below, and check out the email address and the links in the description if they meet your fancy, and that's basically it. As always, guys, take care.